computer audio, right?
Yes.
A lot of, hey, guys, how are you? Ooh, look who I see. Orly
Shamir in the house.
A good afternoon to everyone. Having a lot of sound, but hopefully it's all good. A lot of distortion. Actually, that's much better. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing real good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And
my one question is, where is the main man?
It is. He looks like he's coming here momentarily. Ooh, look who I see here. Look who I see.
Is that Kristen Smedley?
It is Kristen Smedley.
That is Kristen Smedley. Thriving Blind. How you doing?
Oh, why can't we hear? Let me unmute you. There we go.
There's I'm like, Kristen. We got the whole band together. What's up, Pete?
Absolutely. We're just waiting for the main attraction.
How are you?
We're doing good. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone while we wait for Mr. Steele, the blind poet. And thank everyone for attending, for joining us here. So we will be underway momentarily.
You know, I was speaking with Dave, and he was just reading bedtime stories to us.
Maybe that's why.
Somebody can check real quick and see how that bedtime story is going.
I'm going to, let me just rename it. We got Orly.
So, Kristen.
What's up?
How is your day going? And tell me what's up with well, I don't know if you want to get into your announcements, but.
No, it was a little too early.
That's right. I just was going to say hello to Kristen as we're waiting for Dave, but if we get into it, she's got big announcements. How can you talk about your day without your announcements?
Well, I can tell you this about my day. I am so happy that this is happening today and I'm so happy that we had our other group earlier because I don't know if it's the Philly weather this week. I am in like a funky, it's too cloudy mood. Maybe because I can't get out and do my workouts. I don't know, but I'm like, what is the matter? There's so much great stuff going on. Snap out of it. So I'm glad I get to hang out with you guys right now. And it gets me out of driving to field hockey too. So, hey.
So let's, I want to wait. We have a nice group on already. And I want to wait for Dave before we go any further. So what I'm going to do is maybe Dave's having some technical difficulties getting on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything on mute here. And I'm going to see if Dave is texting me. I don't usually do this with my phone in front of me. So just bear with us a moment. Hold tight. I'm putting this on mute and we'll be right back.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to welcome everyone again and just want to apologize for the slight technical difficulty as far as getting Dave on. What? Dave will be with us just a moment. Coming on 2 minutes. I think we'll have to grill him. He says 2 minutes. I think someone lost track of time.
I don't know about that.
You don't know about that.
I know he's doing a bedtime story for us.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yep. He is a family man.
What are they, 6 hours ahead over there?
5 hours.
5 hours.
Okay, my phone is going on to do not disturb. And we will, everyone, I want to thank everyone for their patience. For Dave, the without Dave, this platform would not exist.
That's right.
So
He's worth the wait. He's
he
absolutely
is worth the wait. And
And
I want to say this is the first time this ever happened. So
interestingly enough, I was talking with Dave all the way up until it was 3:40 EST, Eastern Standard. And Barry says, 20 minutes until the tea and poetry from the room. And I go, oh, great. He goes, oh, I've got tea and poetry. It's time for that. I got to do the bedtime story. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah. So that's funny.
Go ahead, Kristen.
At 3:40 our time, while you were saying all of that, I was giving my kids the warning. They had 15 minutes to be loud and weird. Quiet. They were chasing
I know what that's like. With, everyone being home with COVID. I know exactly what that's like. Or maybe, your daughter's back in school, correct?
They're here. We're in hybrid. So they're not in school till Thursday, Friday. So today it's like, shake yourself out.
Here he is.
There's the man.
Here is the man.
Good evening. First of all, can I just apologize for my tardiness and just explain that the clocks went back here in the UK at the weekend, but they've not gone back yet in America till this weekend.
You've got to be kidding me. I can't believe
seriously.
That happens.
So normally it's 9 p.m. UK time for tea and poetry and 4 p.m. Eastern time, but because the clocks have gone back, but they haven't gone back there, which only happens this time of the year, I'm flouting around going, oh, it's 8 p.m. I'm just going to go for a shower and then going to go and get changed and I'll be ready for tea and poetry at 9 o'clock. And then Barry messages me and says, are you having trouble getting on? And I'm going, huh?
What?
So anyway.
You scared me there. I was like, what's going on?
Well, I bet you're happy you don't have to curl your hair because that would have been another,
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Luckily, the beard is ready to go.
Great.
Pulled it right out of the closet.
Apologies for my tardiness. I see you guys have kind of started without me. What did I miss?
We didn't start anything.
We had an extended pause with the mute button pushed, actually, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Because
we were waiting for the master poet.
I'm just kind of looking to see who we've got in attendance. Just looking at the list now.
We got
some good numbers and some great people.
Absolutely, it's great to see everyone. I'm going to. I did not do the formal welcomes yet. So
okay, good. And my surprise of tonight's special guest has already been blown.
Yep, she's blown her cover. Maybe that's my fault because I sent Kristen a link to join us as a panelist. So it's all good.
Kristen, it's great to have you on this week's Tea and Poetry. I've been literally looking forward to this since we kind of agreed to do it and all week, and I'm really looking forward to what we're going to kind of get into tonight. And thanks for everyone being patient and being with us.
Yeah, it's awesome. Great. It's great, Kristen. It's great to have you. But let me just, before we go into the formal introductions, I want to welcome everyone to another Wednesday of Tea and Poetry live with Dave Steele, the blind poet. It's great to be back, and it's just amazing how every single week just continues to fly by, and it always amazes me how it's time for tea and poetry. So there are a couple of ways for us to interact, and we encourage everyone to really do their best to participate. And we understand if you're shy, but hey, this is a very open and comfortable platform. So if you want to get our attention, you want to join the party, you want to get into the conversation, all you have to do is raise your hand, and I will do my best to bring you in at the next appropriate time. If you cannot find that raise your hand button, you can also communicate with us through the Q&A or through the chat. So both, there are three options there to communicate. And we're just super excited. We got a wonderful group this evening. Special guest, Kristen Smedley, Thriving Blind, just up the block. Kristen, obviously I knew you're coming on tonight. And I popped into Ben's office earlier, and he was on a WhatsApp video with Ben. And I said to myself, Dave was wearing a jersey. And I said to myself, I said, I'm thinking about, I didn't say anything to Dave, but he's changed himself. But he was wearing
I know
a
Kristen's
jersey.
an Eagles fan. Uh-huh.
Yes, and I don't know if she would appreciate to see a Ravens jersey.
Oh, well, hey, look, as long as you don't say Dallas or New York, then we can still be tight. But
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Baltimore's my kind of second home now since this time last year. So before we kind of get into, talking about all your stuff, Kristen, I just want to, there's a couple of things I need to touch on first of all, and I want to try and squeeze it in before we kind of get into it, and maybe we'll extend the call a little bit tonight. It's a year ago at the moment since I came out on my first USA book tour, since me and Barry met for the first time physically together.
wow.
And
On your anniversary.
Yeah, absolutely. And
not since we first started communicating. That goes way
no,
back.
No. Yeah, that was a year, year plus before that. But
yes.
Yeah. And then meeting Lanny D for the first time, our good friend who's up there. And we think about every single day. And that's why I was wearing the Ravens shirt in memory of Lanny today.
Yes.
But, I'm seeing all my Facebook memories kind of coming up every day now of the tour. And I got the ones this morning where I just arrived and I woke up at like quarter to 3 or quarter to 4 in the morning, wide awake in my hotel room in Timonium because I hadn't adjusted to the time difference yet. And trying to get to that and turning on the TV and there being like one of my favorite singers, an R&B singer by the name of Her, was on doing a show and watching that at like 3 a.m. in Baltimore. But we did like the first event. But what I wanted to talk about quickly before we get into talking with Kristen is tomorrow is a real anniversary of a very special day, because a year ago tomorrow we did our I think it's tomorrow, or it might be the day after. Actually, it was the anniversary of when we did Rhode Island. And
speaking of Rhode Island, we got Doreen in the house.
Exactly. Every week when we do tea and poetry, we always have a big kind of following from Rhode Island. And Doreen, who has been an absolute blessing to me since we met almost a year ago, wanted to come on quickly at the beginning. I promised her she could come on and just kind of tell a little bit of that time last year and on her perspective of how we met and what it kind of meant to her. So can we bring Doreen in to introduce her to Kristen and then we'll kick off.
Yeah, Doreen is just an incredible individual. Doreen works for Insight up in Providence, great organization. And, if we're talking about Providence, we might as well give a shout out to Rhode Island University, right? Rhode Island University, where we had a full day, on campus. Quite amazing. And let me unmute Doreen. And
we had some real magical moments there, Kristen, which we'll kind of talk about.
Yeah, Doreen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you see me?
Doing great. We cannot see you. Oh, there you are. There you are.
It'd be nice if I opened my camera.
Yeah, it's just
Hey, Doreen.
Hi, glad to meet everybody. So when my daughter called me up last year and said, I have tickets for the Blind Poet. And I'm like, okay. It was at my granddaughter's college. So all the way there, all of 15 minutes, I'm like, I hate poetry. This is going to be boring, but I'll go anyways. So I felt like, oh God, I hope he doesn't go on and on. I just don't like poetry. So we got there. Dave came out. He threw his cane down. For an hour, I didn't speak. And for me, not to speak for an hour is something. So he talked about, you don't look blind and all those struggles that we went through. So then I went over to meet him. And I was just mesmerized by you. And
I'm blushing.
So as he's signing my book, he said to me, I said, you're my inspiration. And he said, what inspired you to get through those hard days? And I said, I became a yoga teacher and I teach for the blind and visually impaired. and you came around the table and you hugged me and you said, "You're my inspiration." And I was like, "Oh my God." You know? So all the way home, I'm like, I love poetry. I think it's awesome.
We've converted someone, Dave. See that power?
Yeah.
But you are
That's
my
great.
inspiration, Dave. And I have a support group called Positive Outlook, and I read Dave's poetry. I read a poem from that every month. Yes, I do.
Wow.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
And that's how we met.
I can't. You know what? I have to say that the weather. You know, Kristen, you mentioned as far as the weather, it's been overcast. It's just been like really nasty outside. I think it's like this whole week. Right? I don't think I've seen the sun the whole week.
Right.
No.
And it was it was pretty much the same weather last year on that day when we were up in Providence.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was a magical day. And the funny thing is that I remember after we loaded the car up, after that long, exhausting day, we like literally had closed up the campus. I mean, it was the area where we were. And I remember we were driving out and there was a digital billboard and it was foggy and everything. And somehow Dave was able to, I don't say out of the corner of his eye, but Dave was able to, through the center of his eye, was able to see that on the digital billboard, it said, you know, come see here, Dave Steele, the blind poet today.
And we pulled over, didn't we, to take a picture?
We pulled over to take a picture.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you for letting me share my story.
No, you're welcome. It was as I said, it was a real magical day. Kristen, to just quickly tell you, we had one experience that I talk about on the time, and I think it might even be on the call. We had when I was doing the book signing after the first session in the afternoon, because we did like one in the afternoon, one in the evening. There was a guy that I noticed in the room that was drawing my attention, and he looked like kind of out of place. And he eventually came up and spoke to me, and he turned around and started to tell me his story when I asked him, you know, what brought you here today? And he told me that he'd just been diagnosed with RP literally a few days ago, and that he'd, you know, gone in, thought he had cataracts. The optometrist had told him, you know, we think you have this thing called RP. You're probably going to lose your sight. Oh, and by the way, your children might have it. And he's got like 3 kids. And he'd gone home all upset and trying to going through all the emotions, grief and feeling angry and feeling sad and everything, you know, in a short period of time, and went online, researched RP and found my poetry. And then the day we were at Rhode Island, his wife called him and she said, "You're never going to believe this, but Dave Steele's in America. And not only is in America, he's in Rhode Island." And he walked straight out of his work, jumped in his car and drove and turned up to come and see me. And every week he's on these calls now. Derek, I don't know if he's out there today, but
don't see him this evening. But
yeah, just an amazing experience being there.
Speaking of guests, I do want to say a quick shout out to our, I don't say, well, he's Dave, he's definitely your good friend, but I will call him our good friend, Mark Belcher from Henshaw's is on this evening. So
hey, Mark,
apparently Mark didn't have any issues with the time change. So
yeah, Joe, Mark. It's funny because I was on the phone to Ben just before it, and me and Ben were chatting, and Ben said to me, looking back on it now, "I'll see you shortly in like 20 minutes." And I thought he was talking about me doing bedtime stories with Austin.
I wish my apologies, man. Seriously, you and I were on the phone, and I was taking up your time, and I was like, my man must be all ready for the show. So
all good.
So just for the record, that was a talk that touched my heart, Dave.
Let me read a piece of poetry, and then let's get talking to Kristen, shall we?
Yeah, Doreen, I'm going to send you back over as an attendee. If you want to come back, you'll let me know and just raise your hand.
So Kristen, it's a bit of a kind of tradition with these team poetry hours. And what we do is every time we have a special guest, at the beginning, I read a piece of poetry, and then everyone kind of picks out a line that kind of they can relate to. With this piece of poetry, Kristen, I already know what you're going to pick out of it.
Oh boy.
Okay.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. I already know. But this is for you. So here we go. Whenever you feel weary, teary eyes and anxious mind, for all the things that get to you while slowly going blind, just know that you are not alone, for I felt that way too. And if I can thrive whilst living blind, there's nothing you can't do. I've been there at the bottom. I've lost my way before, spent endless days avoiding rays and trapped behind my door. But now I've found my purpose. I'm where I'm meant to be. My mind is blessed with vision that my eyes don't need to see. I'm leading by example. I'll teach my children to believe that if one day their eyes are blind, their dreams they will achieve. So remember that the darkness that you're feeling will not last. There's strength in you to start anew. Leave your sadness in the past.
Mm. You just exploded my heart, Dave. That is unbelievable. That whole thing is oh my gosh, you're starting me off and you just summed up my journey. You just summed up my hopes and dreams for my kids, my purpose in my life. That was unbelievable.
So let's talk about that. So for everyone that's out there, Kristen, can you kind of just introduce yourself and tell us, all about your kind of story with your children and where that kind of inspiration came from? Because I've got, I'm in awe of you.
Well, I'll try to give it the shrunken down version so that we can really do some diving into this incredible friendship that I am so blessed to be sitting in this room with people that I feel like it's more like family though.
100%. This is family.
Oh my
100%.
gosh. Like I'm sitting here thinking, anyway, I could go on and on, but you have a line in there, Dave, about being feeling at the bottom and in the darkness. And when I look at my life now, it's hard for me to convey sometimes of how dark and at the bottom of the pit I felt that first day when I heard your son is blind, because I know I'm going to give myself a lot of grace now for how sad I was then and not knowing that my life was going to be what it is now with all three of my kids. But I'll say this, and for the people listening, maybe there's a lot of people that are like me. I was always a planner. I mean, I was like, I was raised as a Catholic. So, you do a lot of, there's a lot of discipline and I was in a family of unconditional love where you had hopes and dreams and things you wanted to do. They made it happen. We didn't have two pennies to rub together, but my parents always figured everything out. And I was very talented at a few key things. So I planned my life along those talents and blessings. And, I often say that I spent my life kind of saying, people would say to me, you're gifted, you're talented, you're blessed. God shines his light on you. And all of my dreams, I planned for them and they came true. But the biggest dream of my life was to be a mom. I mean, I wanted to be a teacher. I knew I was going to be a teacher since I was 5. I knew I was going to marry a successful person. Also, I knew that I was going to have all the stuff that I wanted, but I could not wait to be a mom. And I think it's because I have incredible role models of my mom, my grandmother and whatnot, and I had a wonderful childhood. So anyway, I had all these hopes and dreams. And then for those folks that have children in their life or have carried a baby, as your belly grows, your hopes and dreams for that child you haven't met yet grow, right? And it starts off by, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this life inside of me. And then by the time Michael was born, I'm like, oh my gosh, is he going to play for the Eagles or the Phillies? Like, is he going to be on the pitcher's mound or is he catching the winning touchdown? Like this kid, I was like valedictorian, summa cum laude. He's going to have this great life and I get the front row seat. It was like the most extraordinary thing. And then at 4 months old, when a doctor says, hey, Kristen, it's canceled. It's dark. Your dreams are gone. This kid is blind. Your baby can't see. Everything you thought for him is gone. In that moment, it's like, what do you do? And I think this is why I'm so happy to meet folks like you guys and everyone I get to meet now. And I can go for 3 weeks with no sleep when I'm working on the stuff that I'm working on because
in here, you're doing it for the passion. It's that
yeah. And I've met you guys now and I want the world to know you because there should never be another mom or person or grandma. Nobody should sit and hear from a doctor anymore. Go home, go blind. This is the end of the road. It's not true, but I didn't know that 20 years ago. And I spent a couple of years extremely sad because all that was expected of my life then was sad, right? And it was my little Michael at 3.5 years old that, thank God, I know God sent him into my room the day I was having a nervous breakdown for real. getting ready for my second child to be born. And he said to me the best line ever. He said, "Mommy, isn't this the best day ever?" And that was how Michael looked at his life and still looks at his life at almost 21 years old now. Every single moment of Michael's life, he has found the good, the bright, the beautiful, the amazingness. He's used every talent he has. He never saw blindness as a problem. I did. And I had become my worst nightmare. I was a terrible mom for not encouraging my son to go chase his dreams. Because you know what I realized, Dave? And this is for everybody out there too. My problem was I was holding on to my dreams and my vision for his life.
Yep.
And I didn't realize this until about a year ago. As parents, that's the worst thing. I know that we do it in love with huge hearts. We want these big things for our kids because we know the world. They don't yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get in their way. I was completely in my son's way of living his dreams and his purpose. So I actually do say, whereas I know that it's hard to say that it's not blindness that was the blessing. It was my dreams for Michael getting extinguished that was the blessing, because my kids have been able to, like nobody else, go through their life, Michael for 20 years, Mitchell for 17 years, Carissa for 16 years, without the weight of my dreams for them. They've gotten to dive into and discover their own purpose. And they are the happiest 3 kids you could meet.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And wow, I'm so glad you're on this call. I'm so glad that we are connected now. And we've been talking about stuff like this and kind of touching on, you know, the child aspect and being parents and being blind parents, parents of visually impaired children, and being visually impaired as a parent. But having someone like yourself come on and say what you just said, it just, you know, it's amazing. I love it. I love it. You are so right. And I'm so glad that you had those 2 years, because what you went through in those early stages was perfectly natural. And I'm sure you beat yourself up over it and maybe do to a certain extent still, but it was part of the process that allowed you to be the way you are now. And you know, and inspired you to do the things that you are doing now.
I think you're right. I mean, I do give myself a lot of grace now over those first 3.5 years of maybe it wasn't necessarily wasting time, but and honestly too, here's another thing. I wasn't in a frame of mind to go get the resources Michael needed, right? I was using everyone that actually was coming to the house as a therapist, as opposed to getting Michael really strongly ready to get into the world without sight. However, and for all the parents that are kicking yourselves at the end of the day, that there's just not I mean, I'm a single mom. There's not enough of me for my 3 kids right now, right? But with that comes a beautiful thing. Your kids have to learn to figure stuff out on their own. Like Michael for 3.5 years was figuring things out without me constantly putting stuff in his hands and here, do this and try this. He was kind of figuring out his little world while I was, you know, sitting on the couch being ridiculously sad. So there is some plus to that. And it is a quite a lesson for parents too. Stop figuring everything out for them. Let them, especially when they're home and they're young and they have your safety net, you know, let them go try to figure some stuff out, because then suddenly they're at college and they're in their 3rd year and the state of Pennsylvania refuses to send their mobility instructors, and they have to figure out how to get from their new apartment to their classes. And they do, you know, Michael figured out how to talk to some other folks, met a ministry group. I did a Facebook Live kind of screaming at people, but that's a whole nother thing. But they do have to learn how to figure some things out.
I want to, Kristen, and I think I know the answer to this because you mentioned this, but I want you to just share with everyone, how many credits is Michael taking this semester in college? I want you to answer this live, because I have a son in college, similar age to Michael. And when you share with me how many credits he was taking, I was like, what's wrong with my son?
He has so many credits that I actually said to him, if I get a bill for a second body at that school, you're coming home. Like you can't, he has 28 credits. He has 2 majors, 2 minors, and he added a pre-law certificate program.
Oh my.
Incredible.
So the way you've raised your kids, the unconditional love that you've provided them and given them is truly not only paid off, but it's so clear. And my younger son came home from school the other day, did not do well on a science test, below a 60, we'll leave it like that. And my wife was really upset, put a lot of effort to working with him, to studying, tutor, this, that. And Kristen, when you made it clear to me as far as providing unconditional love, that applies across the board, not just someone with sight loss, but anyone raising kids in general. And that's resonated with me. So it's resonated with me, and it's always been in the back of my mind since I heard you say that, those 2 words. And so I quickly called my son up and said, Daniel, take a step back. We're going to figure this out. You just need to readjust, certain things, and you're going to be fine. And so thank you for highlighting that really important role that as parents that we must play.
Yeah. And it's not easy. I mean, and anyone out there that is listening and thinking that I, skate through all of that unconditional love, it's not easy in situations like that where, like I know that my sons are very high achieving. Michael's in the top 1% at Penn State, 75,000 undergrad students. He's top 1%. Mitch just got his SAT scores. He's in the top 3% of this country. So when Mitch, and I knew that about Mitch, he comes home, 2 years ago with the biology grade, same thing. He's struggling. And I'm like, he goes, get me out of this woman's classroom. You have the power to figure, with the school district and all. I said, no, if you come out of her room now, she's going to be your nightmare all year. You have to learn how to figure things out with difficult teachers. You're going to have difficult people. Like if I keep removing you from that, that's not cool. Yeah, it was a struggle to get the grades that he wanted, but like you said, Barry, in the grand scheme of things. But I will say this, here's where I was not very eloquent and graceful with unconditional love. My daughter, and for all of you that don't have sight loss in your family, I have a sighted daughter. I grew up, soccer was my life. I played in college. I still play to this day, right? She grows up, she's 10 times better than me at soccer. We invested, I have coached her for years. She meets Carly Lloyd, right, from the US team. And about 6 months later says, I don't like the soccer program anymore. This is too crazy. I'm moving over to basketball and field hockey. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? This is our dream, dude. Like I know what college you're going to. I'm going to cheer you on. Like, come on. And I had to do it again. I had to step back and say, oh my gosh, this is not about my dream and where I think she can go and be the #1 goalie in this country. That's not what she wants. She wants some sport I don't understand. Field hockey, I will never understand. But she was miserable with the soccer team. Our life had also gotten turned upside down with divorce and toxic and stuff. And she was like, 14 years old and says, I'm done with toxic. I want fun. And I'm thinking, how much have I just learned from her? Right. So, and she's happily on all these other teams and not in soccer anymore. So
I've got a question for you. The way you have handled things, although, you're first to admit not perfect all the time, but, your children are blessed to have you as a parent. I'm sure, being out there in our community as you are, you've come across an experience where other visually impaired children have not had the right kind of support and the support that you have given to your children. I speak to people all over the world, and I've spoken to countless visually impaired children where they've been raised where their blindness has almost been an embarrassment to their parents. And they've been not encouraged to use mobility aids and just left to kind of stumble along because of how it kind of, and it's horrible to see. So, how do you handle that or process that when you experience, you come across these kind of, people that have, experienced things like that, how do you kind of deal with that?
Well, to be perfectly honest, that's where I started. I think that I was against a lot of, the cane, the braille, because it was just a beacon, a neon sign saying, your child is not going to achieve your dreams. Your child is blind. Your child is less than, because this world thinks less than, which is why I work at least 23 hours a day, every day, to change that less than. And I also realize, and I'm very open about the fact that I was of the lucky ones. I was in a corporate life I handpicked the school district that my boys went to. And I have an education background. I have, a degree where I can go in and I know how to advocate. I know how to influence. I know how to get them the stuff that they want. And now I'm on the other side. I'm now, last year we almost filed for bankruptcy. I had to go for the assistance that the state provides. Like I had to do. So now I've been on both sides of this, and it has, most people I think would throw their hands up and say, I just got to provide for my family. I can't do this anymore. And me and my kids are like, whoa, we really need to work harder now. And I had to think, it was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me was facing this financial situation. And I thought we have to think on a bigger, better scale instead of one-offing a school district, a family, maybe a county. It has to be not even a United States thing. It has to be a global change in this whole thing, that it should not be that 1% of families that are affected by blindness get the results that my boys had. That's like, I will say this, I am out there saying it's possible because my kids did it and here's how they did it. So I run masterminds now with families. I'll tell you this story real quick. Right before the world shut down with this pandemic, I was at on my dream stage. I was at Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired's annual convention. These guys, that website saved my sanity for how many years, looking up how to educate my kids. I built a program in our school district with their help. So I'm on my dream stage, give my huge keynote speech, and get a standing ovation with hundreds of people in the ballroom. And Kristen 20 years ago would have been like, this is the pinnacle of my career. I'm such a success. I walked out of there and I didn't sleep all night. And I thought, yes, it was magnificent. And I was so grateful. And these were all my heroes, but it was the wrong audience. They were already, all those teachers of the visually impaired that traveled to be there already know what's possible for the kids they serve. But the parents sitting at home were in the way. I love the parents. I was one of them, right? I say this in so much love and respect to those parents. We're sitting at home in the way of the kids, like you're saying, not getting them, not pushing for more resources, not demanding that they have Braille an hour a day before school even opens every single day. They aren't doing that. So I'm like, oh, shoot, all night. It drove me crazy. So the next morning, I got everybody on the board around the table and I'm like, how can we get the parents in the room? How can we bring them in? I love the teachers, but we need the parents. Then the world shuts down and I'm like, shoot, we can't get anywhere. However, everybody knows Zoom now, right? Everyone knows how to operate a Zoom room. And that's what we're creating now, doing it virtually to reach parents across literally the world, to make the bigger impact and change this for everybody, not just the lucky ones.
Absolutely. And this is a global audience here. I'm happy to say this is a global audience. We have people that join this group from all around the world. We are, you're 100% right.
And that's
change.
exactly, how we created this as well. It was how to, there's the same things drive us, Kristen. It's that, how can we replicate what we've already done and reach more people and affect change? And when the world shut down, this was the way to do it. And although it's not the same as standing in front of an audience and being in a room like I was this time last year, we are able to still do that and reach people all over, which obviously you're going to be doing with the summit, which I want to get onto in a minute and talk about that. I just want to read a piece of poetry to you, if that's okay.
Of course.
I didn't know if I was going to read this tonight. I kind of read this to Ben beforehand. Because I'm just checking the attendee list. Just one second.
I just want to also say, Philip, Says Kristen, he writes, Kristen, I learned so much from you. You and Dave are my inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing. So,
oh, thanks
thank
for
you.
that.
Philip comes to us from the West Coast, up in the San Francisco Bay Area.
We are. We talk about being a parent, and my love of being a father is something that has always been at the forefront of all my poetry. I do what I do to help people feel like they're less alone, and people use my poetry as a way of them communicating to their loved ones how they feel when they can't find the words. But also everything that I do is to show my children, because my children have a 1 in 2 chance of losing their sight when they're older due to the type of RP that we have, that if they do go blind when they're older, that any limitations of sight doesn't affect the limitations of vision in your mind, and you can still do amazing things. And that's the thing that drives me. And there's a poem that kind of crept up on me today that I've never actually read before, and I read it to Ben. It's quite a hard one, but it says some important things in it. And I think you, even being on a different side of the parent coin, will be able to kind of relate to this. And I remember writing this. I'll read to you now.
Oh, there are tissues that are coming out already.
Yeah,
Tissues prepared, Dave.
Ben knows.
Uh-oh.
My little girl just loves me, though she doesn't understand how in the future blindness one day on her door may land. My little girl just loves me, but I know that it's my fault. I pray to God they find a cure so this RP will halt. I know that she is scared of what is happening to me, and still I must protect her from a fate that she can't see. She watches as I carefully move around and feel my way, but I am still her hero, and I'll show her every day. She listens while I tell her how far my words have reached, and one day she will understand and to her children teach. I hope that she'll be proud of me when she's old enough to know, and one day to her children all my poems she will show. Although I may not be there to recite and stories read, I hope that she will learn from me to help and others lead. I hope that one day she will know all the trials that I've been through. She'll inherit all the strength I have, but for now she has no clue. I know that she'll be okay, whatever tomorrow may bring. But till then I'll protect her, and together we will sing. We'll play as dad and daughter, for my eyes I'll compensate. And as for what's in store for her, all I can do is wait. My little girl still loves me. Doesn't matter if I'm blind. I'll always be her hero, because the positive I find. My little girl still loves me, no matter what I do. And if you're a blind parent, know that it's the same for you.
That's amazing. And I'll tell you what, Dave, I'm not a blind parent. However, I went through all of that these past 4 years as I'm a single mom trying to be both, right? And I remember so many times of thinking, gosh, I'm not getting this right. I'm falling apart today because I'm mad about this, or I can't financially get my daughter on a AAU basketball team, right? What is she going to think? What is she going to think? And I can tell you this with full proof and full excitement and joy. I watch who my kids are now after watching what I went through for the past 4 years, and it was horrific. And watching me get up every day and get back at it and get better and figure out how to be better, get the resources I needed, the therapist, the trying new things, the friends, the jobs, everything. And when they watch you, and I know as your daughter watches you impact the world, impact her world, it's all she really cares about right now, impact her world in such magnificent ways that she will know your strength, your love, your heart. It doesn't matter. You lose a leg, you lose an eye, you lose a partner, lose a job. It doesn't matter. It's that unconditional love that you have for her. And it's all in that poem. That is unconditional love pouring out. And she will know that. And that I say in my book, I dedicated to my kids, the Thriving Blind book, to my kids and my parents. My parents set me up with unconditional love. They set you up to thrive. And no matter what happens, you still thrive. And she will know all of that love she has. Gosh, look at the role model she has in you. The tough part she's going to have is finding somebody that's at her caliber, right? That she's going to hang with the best of the best people because she's had such a role model.
let's let's go back and talk about the book. You know, when you started writing that, you know, what was the kind of process in your mind? You know, what did you set out to achieve with writing the book? How did it kind of come about? Can you kind of let us know?
Yeah, honestly, the way my life was going when that book idea came, and it was years ago that the idea for the book came, it was supposed to just be a pamphlet, a little pamphlet that I wanted doctors to hand to families with the diagnosis to say, this is not a death sentence. Here's a couple of inspirational stories. This is not a death sentence. And to be perfectly honest, I started the patient organization for my boy's blindness. I mean, we get resources to families and we also investigate research for cures. I live in both lanes. This started as just a little pamphlet because I was getting too many phone calls that still
Quite a thick
15 years later.
today.
Yeah, right. 15 years later, parents are calling me and doctors are still saying, go home, go blind, good luck.
Yeah.
That's not okay. That's especially not okay in today's day and age.
I want to say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris. I want to say one of our patients told us a story, and I heard with my own ears that she went back to see her retina specialist, and I'm not here to knock any doctor or anything like that, but the doctor told her, and she's doing well because we were able to help her out in many ways. But the doctor told her, he goes, I expected you to just go home and curl up and just cry every day, and that's it. That's what the doctor said. That's what the doctor said to her.
Look, and you know what? This is why I did the book, and this is why I did it. I didn't just do the book to put it out there in the world and hand to doctors anymore, because I realized because of that, Barry, it needed to be big. It needed to hit bestseller. It needed a lot of attention, because here's the thing. I have no judgment of those doctors. I have all full grace and love for those doctors because they don't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. So it's education now. That's why I feel like with being in this, I feel like this is our living room, our kitchen table as a family, right? I feel like this group and a few others are the catalyst for the tipping point that this world has needed for quite some time to change. And once these perceptions change and the education, not awareness, a full-on education is out there, that's when you're going to start to see all of those horrific unemployment rates come down, the graduation rates go up, all of that. Because that was the driving force that I'm like, oh my God, how are my kids? My kids were winning baseball championships on sighted teams, valedictorian, all of these things. Michael was in the best band in our county, all these things. But the world is saying, our town is saying he can't bag groceries at the grocery store because he's blind. I'm like, something is wrong. Something is wrong. So it's I'm like, go big or go home. I don't have enough time to one off, like I said, the school district, the town, the state, the country, the world. No, let's go world and bring it all down. Right.
That's right.
That's how the book started.
Absolutely.
That's where the journey of the book started. The little pamphlet that is now, it's now it's become a mastermind for families, a global summit to change perceptions. I mean, it's just extraordinary when you really, accept the purpose. Look, I prayed blindness away for years. And I say that, I wanted a cure for blindness and I got it, but my prayer was answered, but my blindness was cured. I was the one that then opened my eyes like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, my sons have talents because of not being distracted by vision.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a very powerful line there.
Yeah,
it's uncanny to me to watch them. Like they wouldn't be who they are. And my daughter, I mean, and speaking about your daughter, Dave, my daughter, people are so drawn to be near her. She's not loud. I sometimes I wonder how we're related because I'm like microphones and cameras all over, right? I got lighting, right? Bring in the hair curling team. And then my daughter's like under the table, doesn't want any parts of it, but she's very quiet. Here's what I know about her though. When you have somebody that is like Carissa, born into a home of unconditional love and full inclusion, all she sees are tools. She sees a cane as a tool. She sees a wheelchair as a tool. She doesn't see the barrier, upsetment, shame. That's not a part of her world. She's never seen that. So people, I mean, you should see the people that want to be on her teams, the teammates, the adults, the teacher. I had a third grade teacher of hers crying at the parent teacher conference saying she's never seen anybody like her, you know? And I'm like, I know, but it's just, she's a test. I mean, okay, I'm her mom. I think she's the most amazing kid on the planet, but it's a testament to our kids that grow up with inclusion, done right, and no shame. No shame, no matter what the issue is. Okay, you're from a divorced family. There's no shame. You just move forward, right? You get strong. You know,
when we've done these calls in the past, and all the guests we've had on, we've all had this common thing, and I've spoke about it on previous weeks. And those people out there that have been with us for a while will kind of testify to this. Is, you know, we have this with this group now of people like yourself, or this team, this squad, whatever you want to call us, who are we all have the same mission, and we are all doing the same thing, and doing it in different ways that all work well together. When I first came out there last year, and next time you're in the office, Barry, I want you to show Kristen the book that you have in the office, the artwork.
Oh yes. I was like, which book? We got a lot of books.
Yeah.
That
so,
book.
I one of my future projects that we're going to do, and I think you're going to be a part of this, is I had this idea.
It's more than an idea.
Yeah, it's more of an idea. Okay. So there's a British author. I don't know if you know her, Kristen. Have you ever heard of a children's author by the name of Julia Donaldson? Julia Donaldson wrote books called The Gruffalo and Stickman.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all short poetic stories. And the great things with poetry that I find is it's just a unique way of being able to get a message across that makes children listen. And I read them to my son, Austin. We do bedtime stories every night. And, you know, we do Facebook Live bedtime stories. And I often read these short Julia Donaldson stories because like songs, they're easy to memorize. So if I'm having a bad eye day and I can't see the words, or as my eyes decline further, I can memorize them. Because I know hundreds of songs just like most people, and I can do that with poetry. So I had this idea,
and you can also sing those songs.
Absolutely. And I had this idea of writing a new children's book series, all short poetic stories about a young visually impaired boy and all the things that he does on a day-to-day basis. And it's set in, you know, showing all the challenges he goes through in school, and it's all about interaction. And the idea of the books is to have a character that children with low vision can identify with, and that's, you know, pretty cool and awesome and doing all the things that they do, but also help break down those social barriers a lot of children with disabilities face in mainstream schools, and give other children an insight of how these people with low vision, or, you know, in a wheelchair, or autism and things like that, are just like you.
Yeah.
And I wrote the first 6 books in one night.
Oh my God. I'm not surprised. It probably just flowed because you were just right in the zone of what's supposed
and we've got
to happen.
them beautifully illustrated, and they're in the office, you know, ready to go.
I have an original copy. Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
I
you've got
can't
the
see it.
original.
Well, you know the beauty of that, Dave. We joke here in my town. I mean, I'm in a pretty big town outside of Philly, and we joke that Michael graduated with 600 kids in his actual graduating class. His high school is like a junior college, but those kids have known Michael since kindergarten. Mm-hmm. And I always joke that they're out in the world. They meet a blind person. They're probably going, so what baseball team are you on? What football team? And you probably have really high grades. And do you have 3 majors too? Like, their concept of blindness is just, it's like,
they don't have that concept of it.
Yeah. They've got like, it's a super achiever. Like, they think Michael's very gifted with blindness. You know, they don't look at it as, oh, the poor blind kid. They never did, because he was always a leader of all of them. So when you're talking about a children's book with a character that has struggles, has successes, like every normal human and regular kid, and other kids can grow up knowing that story, boom, there's a massive perception change of the next generation.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. When every event that I did when I was out on the America tour, I had like certain poems that I'd read, and there's one particular one that fits exactly with that kind of thing about being happy for it. It's called, Barry knows it, I'm sure, word for word now. It's called "The Stranger," and it says, "Today a stranger asked me, what has blindness done to me? Has it limited the plans I've made or the things I hoped would be? Has it forced me now to settle on a life that's second best? Has it made me give up lots of things since I failed the blindness test? Do I still have aspirations, special places, dream to go? Is there any point in beauty if the eyes don't work to show?" But my answer came so quickly, not a thought considered twice. I am happy for this blindness, for the way it's changed my life. It has taught me what's important and shown me who my real friends are. And I wouldn't change a thing I've learned just to get back in my car. I have met amazing people since this RP took my sight. We share in common struggles, joined together through this plight. Though my retinas are dying, my mind's vision has increased. For each day I'm making memories for long after sight has ceased. So never offer pity for the broken sense I've lost, for I feel I have gained more than the price that blindness cost. And
Magnificent.
yeah,
Brilliant.
and it's just that
Sums
is
up
so
much
your
everything we've been
story.
talking about here also.
Exactly. Yeah, it just sums it up. It's I am happy for that blindness. Anyone who goes through, not forget low vision, blindness, and everything, sight loss, whatever you want to call it. Everyone who goes through these kind of life-changing experiences has this kind of outlook of seeing things in a completely different way. We appreciate life in a different way. We see the beauty in each day. I always say that my tunnel of vision that I have makes me concentrate on what's important in life.
Yep.
And I used to be so, I worked in sales. I was very materialistic and career driven and everything else. Still have the same heart, but I got swept away with the other stuff. And it wasn't until I found myself, losing my sight and everything else that came with it. In my first year of being diagnosed with RP, I lost my job. We lost our house. We had to feed our kids on food parcels. We got let down on every turn. We went through this whole battle, and every time we got another door slammed in our face, I felt guilty for the financial pressure it was putting on my family. And it wasn't until I found this poetry that I found a purpose again and a way of being able to kind of be there for people in a way I wish someone had been there for me in those early days. And that's what kind of drives me. But I am so grateful.
You know what? It's funny, Dave, you mentioned that, and I think that's one of the reasons why you extend yourself to every single person that reaches out to you.
That makes a lot of sense to me, Dave, because you really do, and I always love you for it. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, we spoke about it, Ben, before the call tonight. I gave you a little bit more insight into my kind of upbringing and my background. And, I'm a great believer that everything happens for a reason, and that the things and the scars and all the battles that we've been through in our past give us the tools and the ability to face the things going forward. And I think it's true.
And I think for, especially for your listeners out there that aren't there yet and aren't seeing these kinds of things like blindness, divorce, financial issues as a big blessing and plus, here's the way I would communicate that of what you just said. I realized, especially in the past 2 years, it's almost like God strips some things away. Like things, if you look at it as things are falling apart so that everything else can fall into place.
100%.
Like,
yeah, 100%.
Stop hanging on to that stuff that's falling apart. It's like you have to let it go. And then when you wake up each day saying, okay, what's falling into place today now that fell out? And and
bigger and better. Bigger and better.
It's not easy. I will say that. I mean, I half my hair is fake because all my hair fell out. So
hey, listen, I just gave up.
It took me a while to get there, but when I am hit, I call them sucker punches. In my resilience work that I do with my incredibly brilliant business partner in Brilliantly Resilient, we say those sucker punches, when you can really take that sting and let it sting for a minute and then see what was supposed to disappear and fall apart so something else can fall into place. Oh my gosh. That's why I can smile every single day, no matter what. That's why I can have the energy to do this work. That's why I know that I was not drawn to you guys, that we were all put together because this is what was supposed to fall into place. Changing the world in a bigger way. It's not really about blindness. It's about what's everybody's blind spots, right? That we can open their eyes to and make a huge impact.
Before I was diagnosed
Spot
with
on,
RP,
Kristen. Thank you.
I spent years where I almost felt like my life was cursed. I felt like every route I went down, there was something that would go wrong, and it just ended in disaster. And it wasn't until I faced my biggest challenge that I actually realized that, this is where I'm meant to be. So you're 100% right. Can we talk, because I know we try and fit as much in as possible, and with me being late, we're still over anyway. Let's talk about the summit, because I want to get as much in about what's going on over the next few weeks, because we got something really exciting, and the people out there are gonna love this, and I'm sure gonna want to be there for it.
Yeah.
B, have you heard about the summit? I've been hearing left and right.
Mr. B. Fox there is the one that is catapulting this thing into the stratosphere. This summit, so I mentioned earlier that here I am thinking, where the heck am I going to meet all these parents? I got to get them in the ballrooms. Then the world shuts down. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me that we were supposed to start this whole new journey? So now why not come into everybody's living rooms? Because they probably wouldn't have signed up to go to a ballroom somewhere, an event space, right?
For you, they would. For you, they would.
I think you're right about that, Kristen.
But here's the best part of the summit. I mean, and hey, look, I take every stage and microphone that I can possibly get on. I'm not saying much because this is the most extraordinary group of people that are coming into, my goal was to inspire families, parents that are still sitting on the couch and not letting their kid get out there and try football, not demanding better results out of schools, right? Not getting out there and pushing them, just to open their eyes a little bit into what's possible. Now, forget about it. Now it's like, it's for the families, it's for the friends of people that are losing vision. It's the teachers, it's the educators, it's everybody whose minds need to open. And when I tell you that they're filling this up, I have to start looking at, how do I upgrade the Zoom? I've got people now coming in to help me with massive monitors to make it all work, because it is just keep filling up. It's just extraordinary. I thought maybe we would get 50 people. We still have 3 weeks to go, and we're over 150 people, and it just keeps climbing. Every time I look at my phone, it keeps growing.
That's not counting your Facebook group.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, people. This is the time. This is the time that people are open to see how do people figure stuff out like blindness? Because when we just got slammed by this pandemic and people lost businesses, they lost so much stuff. And a lot of people lost family members, right? It's like the whole world is in a massive sucker punch. But I always say that everyone's talking about resilience. My boys have been resilient since the day they were born, because they have to constantly figure stuff out. And they still have a massively amazing outlook on life that people don't think that they would actually have. Now it's kind of like, hey, we just all went through this, and the blind community is figuring this stuff out all the time and does this incredible stuff that nobody would ever think of. Let's learn more about that. I just think it's a perfect time that people are saying, okay, I'm going to rethink the way that I've looked at blindness. And also with the fact that, when I say to people, there's a blind artist, there's the creative director of Lego that is blind. Like, Morton. Here's what I love. It's all.
Morton's a good friend of ours.
Yeah, Morton. Oh my God, is he like extraordinary or what? I mean, I talked with him. My little Facebook show is supposed to be like 20 minutes, right? An hour and 5 minutes goes by, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Morton, like, you have a life. And I'm sitting here like up way too close to my screen, because I'm on the edge of my seat talking to him about perceptions and whatever. But so the summit, the folks coming into it are just, I've worked with a lot of people. I've put on a lot of events for a lot of different things, and I've been a part of a lot of events. I'm very blessed that way. But this group, I, honest to God, have never worked with a group like this that is
true VIPs.
Everybody is like on the same wavelength of Let's do this big and make the world an incredible place. And we can't wait to all work together, and it's going to be extraordinary. And it really is. It really is. And now it has had to go over 3 days because well, it's Duncan in Australia that messed with the time zones. He's the woodworker that's been commissioned by Google, and he mentors young blind kids now whose families don't get it. So he brings them in to say, look at what you can still do, and talks to them. He's going to be a special night of Thursday night kicking it off. Now we have a whole teen night on Friday night, because it's kind of like, okay, well, as we're working on opening the family's eyes to possibility, these teens are like, they're ready to go, so we're going to get them in a room and talk about some fun stuff. And then all day Saturday, the 14th of November, is you should see me. I have papers all over this desk. I have stuff on my wall trying to figure out how we're going to get everybody in. I mean, can you imagine?
It's going to happen.
Years ago,
it's going to happen.
I never knew a blind person 20 years ago. And now I've got stuff all over my walls trying to get all these folks into one day. And it's all going to come together beautifully.
So for everyone out there, can we tell everyone how to register?
Well, how about, let's start this. When is it? Is it tomorrow, next week? It's
November 12th, 13th, and 14th, with the main event all day, the 14th, Saturday, the 14th. And it's free. It's a free summit for everybody that can come in. There's a VIP upgrade to get the recorded sessions. You get time with me afterwards. Oh, here's the other thing we just added. This is what I don't want it to just be, somebody comes into the Zoom room for a couple hours, gets some inspiration, and moves on. I actually am now doing 20-minute calls. I have a couple of them tonight with families, whoever is attending, 20-minute calls to say, where are you at? What are you struggling with? What are your needs? How old is your child? How old is your spouse? Blah, 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 blah. How can I direct you to resources? I want you to make sure that you pay attention to this certain speaker. And then afterwards, we're going to, I'm trying to get everybody, all the information, the bios, the work that you all are doing out there, because I want everybody to know these speakers before coming into the Zoom room. So you really can take in the message that everybody's delivering, right? So when people use the word love fest and all that, it really is. It's like, it's just going to be this continual tipping point that we've already started with this group. And it's going to be one of those massive game changers when we look back. And here's the most beautiful part of all this. People are saying, to look back on 2020 as the year that the whole world fell apart. And I feel like, oh my gosh, for this community, and for my kids and my mission and all of us, I think we're always going to look at 2020 as the year that the vision changed and everybody's eyes were open and things went berserko up from here.
Things were heading in a direction, and we said, we think that the world was falling apart and that things were falling down. But I agree with you, Kristen. This is a year that we've all been redefining, rebuilding, pushing forward, and this is the year, of course, 2020 with the symbolic meaning with sight, that this is the year that we are going to break through. We are making change, and I'm honored to be part of it.
Yeah,
we've all spoke about it in our stories. We've all had a time in our life where we had to fall apart to get to where we are today. So hopefully that's going to be what we get out of this. I want to kind of open this up now, before we kind of wrap things up. I'm sure there's going to be people out there who would like to come on and say hi and ask any questions. So Barry, if there's anyone out there.
I have to bring in our dear friend Travis, has been waiting so patiently since we first got on. So Travis, I'm bringing you on right now. And I appreciate your patience, Travis. Travis, you should be unmuted. Travis coming to us from the West Coast.
Not a West Coast.
There he is. Travis, how are you?
I hope Travis brings some West Coast sunshine into this so I can, for our East Coast.
Is this Kristen?
Hey, Travis.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. Hey, I wanted to say, this has been a great meeting, I have to say. And I have to say, Kristen, You are such an amazing storyteller, what you've been through. I mean, first of all, I'm sorry you've had those ups and downs. I'm just going to tell you this, just to let you know. But you really told some amazing stories, I must say. And,
Aw.
when you talk about hopes and dreams, you see, I was born blind, just FYI, like over 33 years ago. And, mom and dad had dreams for me. And one of the big ones was getting my diploma, my high school diploma, which I did, just to let you know.
Awesome.
And went to college. And then of course, hopefully you'll get a job. And I did have Department of Rehab and so forth. And one of my biggest dreams when I wanted to get my job was working in home improvement. Because I watch a lot of HGTV and all, and I have been dreaming about this for eons now, since I was at least in my early teens, maybe before. And like 5 years ago, I got my dream job I wanted at Home Depot.
You're kidding.
Incredible.
No,
Incredible.
it's a true story.
I love that place, Travis. I love Home Depot.
That is great. As a matter of fact, you guys, and Kristen, I think you're going to love this, because I know you've been dealing with the hurdles with the kids and so forth, the blindness. I'll tell you a story, if that's okay, you guys.
Of course.
So one of our photojournalists who always posts photos about the sunsets and all with our weather reports on our local NBC station where I live. And he had this idea one day that I should be on TV for a special report on how I overcame my challenges, looking for work and over the years. So anyway, he called the news people, and they wanted to interview me. And one of the news reporters interviewed me to be on TV. And I was able to do a walk through the store and everything.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's cool.
So I would like to somehow show that video to you guys somehow, if I can find a way to send it, especially to you, Kristen.
I'd love to see it.
So Kristen, how can we make this happen? And also, I know there's been some hurdles with your, the kids and so forth with the future. You got some questions. I know, Kristen, I would like to help you out as much as I can, because what we had to go through too with me.
Awesome.
If that's okay. So I have a Facebook account, FYI. I don't know how we can make this happen.
Why don't you connect with Thriving Blind as my Facebook community? Why don't you join?
Absolutely.
And then we
Thriving Blind. Is it THRIVING?
Yes.
Okay. How about this? I'll look for it on Facebook, and
Perfect.
I'll join the group. And then what I'll do is I can private message you about some ideas and all, and I will figure out getting the video out to you and so forth.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Travis.
You're welcome. I think you're going to love this. And I'll tell you what, I'm able to work at Home Depot. I man the phones. I greet people. I help out the service desk. And I'm certified in appliances.
Oh, that's my
It
next aisle I want to
It might
visit.
be a long distance. If you need Travis, it might be a long distance service call.
Well, I'm sure
I'll call you from that aisle. We could do it by phone, because that's my next trip. I can't wait when I get to go look at appliances there.
Okay, and you know what? I can give you ideas on appliances that are suitable for blind people and not so suitable, because there are appliances that might be totally useless for some of us folks, for example.
Hey, can I tell you a funny story about our dryer in our house? One night,
Would love to hear it.
One night when Michael was still home before he went to school, he was doing something in the laundry room. I don't know. And our laundry room is very tight and it's very crowded with all of the kids' stuff. And he tripped and fell into the dryer, and he hit something on it. And we found out that it makes all kinds of sounds that I didn't know about. And it does songs when it's done and all this stuff. I had no idea. So I said to Michael, hey, let me push it into all the other appliances and see if they make sounds too.
What kind of dryer is this, Kristen?
I think it's an LG.
Yeah, the LG and the Samsung dryers and some of the others, they do play a melodic melody at the end signal.
Look at this. I came on to talk about poetry and blindness, and now I'm learning about the appliances, and I'm thinking about Home Depot. It's that's Kristen's favorite night.
And I think we got another episode of Working While Blind.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I was wondering one thing that whole time. Dave, do they have Home Depot in the UK?
They do, actually.
Is that right? Is that
How about
right?
that? They really are everywhere.
Is that right? Okay.
Travis,
It's-
I'm sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's not the main one, but I think the main company over here is a company called B&Q. I don't know what the B&Q stands for, but
I don't know either.
Ben and Q.
I was gonna say, Dave, I would love to walk around Travis's Home Depot with you in the States. We should go visit Travis. We should go visit Travis.
Absolutely.
Hey,
I
if
think
there's,
I
wait a
would
minute,
love to
wait
show
a minute.
you
If there's a
around.
Home Depot field trip, I want in.
All right.
I want in.
We will
I
be
might
there.
be a bit out of, I might be a bit out of place because actually Amy does all the DIY in this house. As Austin says to me, Daddy, you're not a fixer, you're a breaker.
Oh, Dave, you're one of the manliest men I've ever met, and you just proved it yet again. My brother.
Whoa.
So great.
Whoa.
Thank you, Travis.
Nice to meet you, Travis. I'll see you on the Thriving Blind page.
Thriving Blind. I will look for it.
All right.
Thank you, Travis. And I will be, I have your email address. We're going to be in contact with you also.
Travis, you're so cool.
Hey, thank you. And you guys are cool too. And I hope everyone is staying safe and, of course, staying warm. And I just want to remind you of one thing, all of us in the United States. Couple of things. So we do change our clocks this weekend.
Thank
Hint,
you.
hint, Dave. Hint, hint, Dave.
And make sure those ballots are turning because the election is this next Tuesday.
You got it.
That's
Awesome.
correct.
Thanks, Travis.
Go vote.
Thank you,
You're
Travis.
welcome.
Go vote.
Okay, last call then. Is there anyone else that kind
Yes,
of
there is. Yes. Travis, thank you very much for all your patience. I appreciate it.
You know what? Not a problem. I know we can only do so much, and that is totally understandable for sure.
I got you. I'll talk to you.
Okay, you guys.
See ya.
All right, let me go over. We have Christina.
Hey.
Christina coming
Christina,
right up.
Christina.
Yeah. Christina, I'm unmuting you now. Oh my gosh. Wow. I didn't realize what time it is.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Christina, how are
Hey,
you?
Christina.
I'm good. I had a question for the lady. Can't remember your name. I'm not good with names. Kristen. Does that Zoom thing that you're having, is that for just parents?
It's everybody.
For
It's open
everybody?
to everybody.
That's a great question, Christina. And
Yeah, that
Because
is
I'm
a
not
good
a
question.
parent.
Yep,
But
it's
I
a
do-
great
I do
question,
have-
and it's open to everybody.
I do have the same thing as Dave, RP. That's why I was wondering. Because I didn't get on the first of the call. That's why I was asking that. I didn't hear what you really
it's free. It's free. Register your details. There's going to be some amazing people speaking on there. I mean, Kristen, do you want to kind of roll off a few people we've got kind of as part of the summit?
Yeah, we've got, well, you're blessing us with your talents or poetry to kick us off. Kirk Adams, the CEO of AFB, is going to do a big welcome on Saturday. Morton, that we talked about from Lego.
Warren Bunda.
Martin
Yeah.
Bunda. It was on here a few weeks ago, talking about his new book.
Absolutely.
And that book is absolutely incredible. And Clark Reynolds, you know Clark? Do you know him? The blind artist that does the Braille code art.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
He's hilarious, you guys.
He
I
is
cannot
fantastic.
even wait for his session because we have the greatest time when we talk. Let's see. Ron Brooks is here in the States.
Yeah, I know Ron.
He
Yeah.
is yeah, he's magnificent too. Kathy Nimmer, who was Teacher of the Year in her state, and in the United States, she was in the top 4. She'll be on a panel with it's Kathy and Kim Owens. Do you know her with Navigating Blindness? Her son
Of course,
Kai
yeah.
is the
I've just done a
importer.
book with. I've just done a book with them actually here
Oh,
in the UK.
yes.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
with the-
right. I saw
yes.
it on Instagram.
Yes, with the
Yes.
event, right? Yes.
With
So,
Rhett Givers, yeah.
Kim
Well,
will
how
be
do
on
you-
Saturday, and Kai will
how
be
do you
involved
sign
in the
up?
team night.
Yeah, Kristen,
Okay.
how do people sign up for Thriving Blind Summit?
So there's 2 places that you can go. You can go to kristensmedley.com, and it's right on the homepage to click on there. And
Can
there's
you
also
spell
a
it for
blind
us?
KRISTINSMEDLEY.com. You can get it also in the Thriving Blind community page on Facebook, but there's also the Blind Dance
Yes.
website, right,
Right,
Ben?
Yes.
Blinddance.org/summit 2020. Blinddance.org/summit Summit 2020.
And we're going to put out an email blast as well in the coming days.
Awesome. Yeah, and you'll see it all over Facebook, Instagram. You can DM me, Kristen
Like-
Smedley on Instagram. I'll send you the link.
Like billboards, TV commercials, everything.
Hey, you know me, go big or go home.
That's right. That's right. We're going
That's
big. We're
great.
going big.
Christina, we hope to see you there.
Well, I'm gonna try to come. I'm
Awesome.
in a lot of things. Dave
Very
knows.
good.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. I'm going to bring on Mary while I send Christina back.
Barry's got all the control there.
I got the controls. This is
Certainly has.
I'm glad you're doing it because I would end up like deleting people by accident. I still can't work all this stuff well.
Mary, how are you? Mary? Mary?
Maybe she has to turn on her.
No, it's
Mike.
Mary. Can you hear us? It's unmuted. You can go ahead. You can speak.
Nope.
Mary, I'm going to send you out and send you right back in. Hold on one moment. I'm going to send Mary
I can hear some like beeping in
Yeah,
the background. It
I heard,
sounds
yeah.
like Mary's trying to communicate with us via Morse code.
Maybe. I'm going to, Mary, I'm going to bring you right back.
My brothers and I used to do that with walkie-talkies when we were little.
Oh,
We would
you
do
remember
Morse
those
code.
days?
All I can hear is SOS.
Yeah.
Dot,
Yeah.
dot, dot,
I
dot, dot.
hope it's not SOS.
That's how they got me to stop talking. They would do Morse code.
All right, Mary, I'm asked to unmute you now. And we're not having any luck.
No.
All right. Mary, we tried. If you want to send us a message through the chat or through the Q&A, please go ahead and do so. And
Is there anyone else? Last call.
take a look. Last call. Train's getting ready to depart the station.
Put your
Anyone?
hand up.
Anyone who wants to say a quick hello to Dave, to Kristen, to Mr. B. Fox, please raise your hand. Now is the time. And if not, we have a lot of people who are shy this evening. But this has been incredible. I'm going to, I actually, Dave, before we close out and I have you read another piece of poetry,
Yes.
you know, Ben, myself, a couple others here, we're going out for drinks tomorrow to Starbucks.
I'm very excited about this, actually.
Yeah, we are going
Oh,
to
What are
celebrate.
you doing the Starbucks thing?
Well, you know, Starbucks has a close, you know, very special place in our heart. But we are going out tomorrow. In case anyone did not hear, Ira, the assistive technology, has now partnered up together with Starbucks for a beta testing period where Ira is 100% complimentary at certain Starbucks. There's about 7 different cities.
8 cities.
8 cities.
8 cities across the United States.
So we are going to go out to Starbucks. We're going to test it out and make sure it works properly. We have not the one here near the office, but one actually near Ben's house. We are going to check it out and test it out. So we'll stay tuned. Look out for us on social tomorrow.
You
Look
know,
out
if you're,
for
if you're out and about and you want a cup of coffee and you're visually impaired or blind and you're like, how do I socially distance in a line? You got half an hour free access to IRA, and it's complimentary. 8 cities. So
Awesome.
let's get out there and support them. I'm super
Yeah,
excited.
sounds
awesome.
good.
Yeah,
I'm a Starbucks addict.
Oh,
I run on, Kristen runs on Starbucks.
yeah.
As does Barry.
Yes. All right, so we're going to hand it over to Dave, and I want to say just thank you to everyone for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon / evening. It's great to see everyone. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, B. Fox. And we're going to get out those emails about Thriving Blind Summit. We encourage everyone to please attend. I promise you, you will not be let down. It's going to be an incredible event, and I am personally looking forward to participating as well.
Dave, do you have a custom poem for the event?
For the event, of course.
What kind of question is that?
I just wanted to check in on that.
Of course.
Come on.
Looking forward.
This is the crazy question segment of the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Dave,
Awesome.
take it away.
Tune in and you'll find out.
We'll find out.
Brother.
Yeah, once again, massive big thank you to Kristen. A really absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Joy, thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to see all the amazing things we are as a collective going to be doing in the future and making a real, positive change within our community. Yeah, and once again, big thank you to everyone that has attended again every week. Come back again next week, and I'm going to leave you with this one, which kind of fits. Sometimes the light goes out in us, the flame inside our souls. Sometimes we lose our way because we failed to reach our goals. But nothing lasts forever, and this heartache soon will pass. Sometimes we can't see the way, just like that broken glass. Sometimes this clouded pigment is all I can focus on. Spend too much time on what may be's, what ifs, and what might come. Sometimes I feel a panic for my children's vision fate, but all of that I can do now is teach them, show them, wait. Sometimes I feel self-conscious while I'm using my long cane. The times when I don't use it, why to strangers must I explain? Sometimes I let it get to me. Sometimes I get depressed. But I have always shook it off and eventually passed life's tests. Sometimes I'm isolated by the things that people think. Their misconceptions pierce my heart into me. They sink. Sometimes I need to talk about these feelings that I get, but they do not define me. This blind life I don't regret. For no one's life is perfect. We are all faulty by design. There's more to me than sight loss and the way I feel sometimes.
Oh.
Brilliant.
Incredible, as always. Incredible way to sum it up. And we look forward to seeing everyone at the summit, but we'll see everyone back here next week. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Dave. Saying
Thanks
so
for having
long.
me.
From Baltimore.
And from Manchester.
Thank you.
And from
And from
Philly.
And from
And
Philly.
A
Of
brotherly
course.
love.
Philly in the house.
From Charm
Thanks,
City
guys.
to the brotherly love.
Well, I want to say one quick thing. Even though it might be a gloomy day somewhere, like people on this call brightened my day. It's like we make our own bright spots.
There you go.
There you go.
Boom.
Boom. Take care, everyone.
See ya.
Friends through silver linings.
See ya.
See you later.